It's college football season, meaning the realignment talk is over, right? Well, kind of. Let's wrap it up. This is Locked On Big 12.
You are Locked On Big 12, your daily podcast on the Big 12 Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome to Locked On Big 12. I'm Drake Toll from America's #1 Big 12 podcast, Locked On Big 12. Thank you for making this show your first listen every single day. That is Spencer McLaughlin of Locked On College Football, breaking down all things on the gridiron across the country. Today, we'll touch on how realignment will affect the 2024 college football season and what will happen. Will we go dormant in the next 4 months, or will we know more about the future of how this sport shapes?
Please let it be the first one. Please let it be the first one. Sorry to interrupt so quickly, but let it be the first one.
Will it die, or will we talk about it every
No.
day?
Those are two different D words, Drake. Dormant and die. These are different. A volcano can go dormant, but then erupt again later. Die implies, no, it's not going to produce any lava anytime soon. But I'm down for dormant realignment news. But college football rarely gives us exactly what we want because it's college football.
Very seldom. So will we have any of that in the middle of the season? At least how will it shake out come 2024? And then we'll also get into Spencer McLaughlin's Big 12 contenders, who can win the conference, and his Big 12 pretenders, the teams that have zero chance. Why are you here? Thanks for playing. The points don't matter. No one's counting. Question number 1, Spencer McLaughlin of Locked On College Football. What is the right now? In the next 4 months, will we know anything more from Florida State and Clemson to where the SEC sits with those schools, to where the Big 10 sits with those schools, to where the Big 12 sits with Miami and Louisville? What will we find out during the season?
My guess is not very much. By the way, was that a Whose Line Is It Anyway reference with the points 100%. Don't matter? Great show. But I think that for the college football season, it actually is going to be easier for college football fans who are tired of the realignment stuff to just consume football, because there's going to be actual football. In the offseason, there's nothing as alluring as realignment stuff, because guess what? It's the biggest story. And when we create shows like this one, you and I both, guess what? Realignment's the biggest story every time. You know how we know? Because that's what people are the most interested in. You get the most engagement, you get the most traction, you have the most watch time on YouTube. Every single factor leads you to believe that people believe that's the most important story. And guess what? I can't disagree with them. The fundamental structure of college football changing in a dramatic way is indeed the biggest story in the sport. It's why you see pieces written about it. National reporters still covering it as they have for the last several years. But here's where it kind of comes to a head. The reason you care, any of you, me, anyone listening to or watching the show, the reason you care about realignment so much is because of what is going to start on Saturday. It's the football. It's the I've talked before about how realignment has kind of become, to a lot of people, its own sport in a sense. Like, it feels detached from college football. But I think once the season starts, you're going to recognize, especially this year, oh yeah, this is why we care about it. Oh yeah, this is why I've consumed all this content. This is why I've watched, all these shows or listened to these podcasts or thought about, different scenarios and whatnot, because of how it's going to look when teams actually take the field. Football is still at the center of why people are interested in this sort of stuff. What do Texas and Oklahoma look like in the SEC? What do the new Big 10 teams look like? How does the Big 12 fare with Utah as a preseason favorite, Arizona in the mix, and then Arizona State and Colorado, somewhere in the middle, depending on which team you're talking about there. But as for your question about, what news are we going to hear? I don't expect there to be very much. The legal system turns pretty slowly because it turns out it is hard, long, and complicated. Everybody wants a microwave society in the judicial system. I don't know how you actually get that if you ensure all the things you need to ensure to have the fairest judicial system that you can come up with. So these things are going to take time. And here's the other thing. They can take time. What is the urgency? The August 15th deadline for Florida State and Clemson to say we won't be in the ACC in 2025, it's passed. It's done. They will not leave the conference before the 2025 season. So they will be in the league next year, that league being the ACC, and we'll see what happens in 2026. But I think as it has happened in the last couple cycles, you're going to have that news start to circle back in a big way after the season.
Who is Oregon's most, because you're locked on Ducks, who's Oregon's most random Big Ten game this year?
Oh, gosh. Most random? Maryland's coming to town.
Yeah, okay.
So is Illinois.
When those games happen, do you think we're going to look up and go, hey, maybe that 3 months of nothing but realignment talk was worth it, because this is really weird?
Well, yes is the answer to that question of, oh, yeah, that's why we talked about this, because this is strange. All we've done with the new Big Ten teams is talk about what will they be like in there? What could it look like? How will they perform? Can they match the physicality? What about the different styles? Can the Big Ten offenses keep up with Oregon and USC, or what Jed Fish can do at Washington? I think everyone can keep up with UCLA, because I think they're going to stink, at least for a year. I don't know about the long run, but for a year, UCLA is going to be really, really bad. And I think that once these teams start playing each other, you will kind of have these light bulb moments for college football fans of, oh, yeah, this is real. Like, you know in your head that something is real, but until you've seen it and felt it and processed it, it's different. So I do think there will be that moment of, oh, yeah, Oregon's playing Michigan State. Oh, yeah, here, you want a random conference realignment matchup? Listen to this one. Washington is going to travel to Piscataway, New Jersey to play Rutgers.
And it counts for who's going to the conference championship game. All right.
Yes, it does.
All right. Don't discount it. Piscataway's tough. You know what they say.
Oh, I think Washington's losing that football game, by the way. I'm not discounting Piscataway whatsoever. I think Washington's going to lose. I think Rutgers got a solid team. That's a long trip to make.
Scary, dangerous. Coming up, let's talk Big 12. It's a whole lot of Piscataway. Right here on your contenders on Locked On Big 12, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Hey, you. Today's show is brought to you by Ibotta. Ibotta has helped me save money all summer long. And the summer's winding down, but college football is kicking up, and your tailgates are going to be crazy. You're going to need sandals and sunscreen and snacks for the kids, because they're going to be all running around out there, and you're going to want the barbecue stuff. You're going to stock up, and you want to save money and make money. Ibotta is a free app that lets you earn cash back every time you shop. Earn on hundreds of items. The average user of Ibotta earns $256 per year. Other apps give you points. They don't amount to much. Ibotta gives you money back with PayPal or your bank account or gift cards. Simply add offers in the app, upload your receipt, and voila, the money is yours. Save on over 2,400 brands. Sephora, Macy's, Lowe's, Best Buy, and more. Right now, Ibotta is offering listeners $5 just for trying Ibotta. Locked On College is the code you're going to use when you register. Go to the App Store, Google Play Store, download the free Ibotta app, start earning cash back. Use Locked On College as your code. That's IBOTTA in the Google Play or App Store. Use code Locked On College with Ibotta today. Spencer McLaughlin, Locked On College Football. Good to see you here. I am the host of Locked On Big 12, and occasionally we talk about Big 12 football, which is the case right now for all hundreds of you that are watching or listening. And I have my Brett Ciencia Pick 6 previews, Big 12 preseason rankings. These are metrics here, right? We have somehow built an algorithm to tell us who in the Big 12
do that again.
Is going to be good or
that
bad.
Was flowy and official.
Colorful, too. There are helmets on this puppy.
I love color coordination. As a play-by-play guy, my spotting boards are tremendously color coordinated. And
I'm not going to give you any hints on what the experts have picked here, because you are the expert today. Our Big 12 contenders. I was asked this on a radio show today. How many teams can win the Big 12? And I was like, 7. For you, how many teams, and who are they, could feasibly win the Big 12?
Well, it's a difficult number, because there's can versus I can predict that they're going to. Arizona technically could. I'm pretty down on Arizona compared to most. I'll also point out that they have fallen in the odds markets, according to our friends at FanDuel, in their Big 12 championship odds, which some commenters don't really care for when it doesn't give them the results that they want. But Utah, Kansas State, those are the easy ones. Kansas, who I have predicted to make the Big 12 championship game, I think it is Utah and is Kansas. I have a question?
Whoa. Do you say that again, that part again?
I think Utah is going to play Kansas in the Big 12 championship game, and Utah is going to win.
I also have Utah and Kansas in my Big 12 championship game. No way that's real. We're not supposed to agree on this show.
We did not. Let me assure everybody out there, I swear to you on my life, that was not planned. That was that was not coordinated. And by the way,
you're telling me this for the first time. I'm hearing this for the first time. Just a little tiny dancer playing in the background.
Hold on, let me pull that up. It's on my playlist. That's one of my most played songs on Spotify every year. Not for that reason, but like it's okay. Anyway, that took a turn. So the reason that I like Kansas. Now, this is predicated on Jalen Daniels' health. You take Jalen Daniels out of the equation, and suddenly I'm down on Kansas. And that's what people like to jump to is like, oh, he won't stay healthy. What if Jalen Daniels goes down? Yeah, what if any quarterback goes down? If Shedeur Sanders goes down, can you even name Colorado's backup quarterback? Because I got to be honest.
Do they have one?
I don't know. Whoever he is, he's not as good as Shedeur.
What if Travis Hunter back there?
What if Fafita goes down for Arizona? Newsflash, they're not going to be quite as good. So I do have reservations about Kansas. I love the way their schedule shakes out. Now, 2 questions that I think are fair to ask, and if they're the reasons you doubt the Jayhawks, I think that's valid. I just don't feel that way because I like where they're at. Number 1. Lost their offensive coordinator, Andy Kotelnicki, to Penn State. Don't love that. However, I feel better about that when you have a quarterback who has been in the system for the last couple of years. So I think the offense can run at basically the same sort of level. I think Leipold's a really good coach. I also don't love that their home games are not in Lawrence, that they are in Kansas City at Arrowhead Stadium instead. However, if we hype up Kansas football enough, then maybe fans will make the trip to go to the home games that they play at Arrowhead. And by the way, their schedule is what I love most. It is quarterback, coach, schedule. That is my foundation for picking Kansas to make the Big 12 championship game, which is a crazy thing to say. Just because it's Kansas football, not because Kansas isn't good enough to get there. They absolutely are. It's just the whole idea. It's like saying, Vanderbilt, that SEC title game contender. You know, like that's where it is. But but Leipold has done a heck of a job out there. So I think both Kansas schools can make it. Of course, Oklahoma State, I don't love. I like that they're a veteran team. I don't love their quarterback. And by the way, when they played real teams last year, or not even real teams sometimes, like UCF.
Hey, South Alabama was really good. It was an up year for them.
Yeah, UCF was fine.
Yeah, 6-6.
Clean their clocks. And South Alabama went into Stillwater and blew them out. And then they played a real team in the Big 12 title game in Texas, and they got dog walked. So every time I see Oklahoma State's got so much returning from last year, I'm like, okay, but last year they were a fraudulent team. Like they were not a bad team, but they were posing as a Big 12 title contender. Newsflash, they were never going to win that game against Texas. You play that game 10 times, Texas wins every single time. So I'm not crazy about them. I do like UCF. I don't dislike, like my kind of bubble teams, West Virginia, Texas Tech, TCU. I do not put Colorado as a Big 12 title contender. I barely put
Iowa State. We haven't really gotten a lot of Iowa State in there.
I know. And
Rocklebeck.
I know. They're a mystery team to me. They're a mystery team to me. Matt Campbell can kind of give me Dave Aranda vibes, where I saw him take his program to a very high level when he had, everything working and it was going well. But do I feel confident, and this is a subjective feeling, so if you want to toast me in the comments, you do whatever you like. It's a free country. Well, this is the internet, so it's you're free to comment is the point that I'm making here. I don't have a supreme level of confidence that Iowa State can play at a Big 12 championship level. Do they have the quarterback to do it? Yes. And that's essential, right? One of the reasons that I'm down on Oklahoma State, you're in the best quarterback conference in the country. You're not winning it with Alan Bowman. I felt this last year in the Pac-12. I see a lot of similarities with this year's Big 12. If you're not good enough at the quarterback position, you're not going to win. You know who had a good enough team to compete for a Pac-12 championship last year? Oregon State. You know one of the reasons they didn't? DJU wasn't very good. Yeah. He was not very good, and that's just one example. You know who won the Pac-12? Michael Penix. Who was he going up against? Bo Nix. Who'd they both have to beat? Caleb Williams. Shedeur Sanders. Like you go down this lineup of Big 12 quarterbacks. It's so loaded. It's as good as the conference has ever been at the position. And I like Rocco Beck, so that's not my concern. But I don't know about Matt Campbell. I think he was a much hotter coaching name several years ago. And right now I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. They're one of the mystery teams in college football to me. And then West Virginia, like I love West Virginia's returning production, quarterback coach, and everything. But like,
schedule bad.
Okay, bad is the understatement of the year on this show.
Yeah.
Quite literally. That is the worst Big 12 schedule you could possibly come up with. Let me pull it up real quick just for people who don't know what West Virginia has to go through. I'll just read you the Big 10 games and ignore the preseason top 10 matchup or the early season top 10 matchup that they have. In consecutive weeks, their easiest game is going to be Iowa State at home because they're going to play Kansas at Oklahoma State, Iowa State, Kansas State at Arizona. How? Oh, and by the way, and they have to play UCF and at Texas Tech to end the year. What did they do? Wait, West Virginia is your surprise team. Answer me that, Brett Yormark. What did West Virginia do to tick you off? They were picked to finish last. Did they embarrass too many people in the media when they went 9-4 and ended the year a top 25 team? Like, what did you pick them last year?
I picked them to go 1-11. They did not let me forget that.
No. I imagine that they did not. But like, can you come up with a tougher Big 12 schedule that exists on paper? Because I can't.
Coin flip, definition of a coin flip is 50-50. So you can't win all your coin. Well, coin flip game, we win. Coin flip game, so if you lose half of them,
like at best, every single one of these games, Kansas at Oklahoma State, Iowa State, Kansas State at Arizona, those are consecutive. And then UCF and at Texas Tech.
Yeah.
How many of those teams, Drake? How many teams would you look at and say West Virginia is decisively the better team? Not a coin flip.
Right.
Not a coin flip like, oh no, West Virginia is just better. Not that West Virginia couldn't win the game, but how many times do you look at those games, which is most of their schedule, and say, oh yeah, they're definitely better than this team?
And I don't want to piss anybody off here because I can't decisively say that Iowa State is better than West Virginia. I can't decisively say that Arizona is better than West Virginia. I can't.
Right.
They could very well win against Arizona. However, I can't decisively say West Virginia is the better team in that matchup.
This is they're the Florida of the Big 12.
Yeah.
They're going to.
It sucks for them this year.
They're going to exemplify Josh Pate's mantra of "You are not where your record says you are." West Virginia could go, let's say 7-5 with this schedule and be better than a 9-3 team in the Big 12. It's fully possible.
9-3 Oklahoma State. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Coming up, who sucks in the Big 12 on Locked On Big 12, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Today's show is brought to you by a brand new sponsor of Locked On Big 12 and one that I've used religiously recently. I spend a lot of time on the road and I can't always play all my video games I like to play. So instead I play Ultimate College Football HC. That's right. Be the new head coach. Right now, Locked On Big 12. All of you fans, I want you to take one moment to have an amazing game and a simulation that gets you step into the shoes of a head coach in college football. Can you imagine being the head coach of Florida, Texas A&M, Texas Tech, TCU, Oklahoma State? Recruit players, hire coaching staff. You control every crucial detail of your program. And I love the game because you're responsible for calling offensive plays during the game. Your strategy is going to matter. Ultimate College Football HC is completely free. No ads, 100% playable offline as well. Right now, you go in, use the code LOCKEDONCFB, all caps, inside the game to receive a free boost to your program. Make sure you take advantage of the perk. Use LOCKEDONCFB right now at Ultimate College Football HC. Download the game, visit ultimate-cfb.com or look it up on the App Store. Ultimate College Football HC. Begin your coaching legacy. Do it today. Locked On College Football, Spencer McLaughlin. Who in the Big 12 is going to be not good? Just really, really not fun to watch doing the football thing this year. Our pretenders in 2024.
Well, doesn't the phrase pretend or the word pretender
100%.
Imply that you have any expectation? Because Houston's finishing last in the Big 12 this year.
Yeah, I think if you ask somebody from Arizona State or BYU, they'll be like, "Oh, well, don't count us out. We can make some noise." And you go,
Arizona State can make a bowl game. BYU, if they can overcome the quarterback position, which, as I said earlier, I'm not a big fan of. They could be okay. Like ASU's quarterback situation is just okay. I like the rest of Arizona State's team more than the quarterback position. I think Sam Leavitt is fine, certainly capable, decently rated recruit coming out of high school. Just hasn't really popped yet, but does he have the weapons to throw the ball without Jalen Conyers and Elijah Badger from last year's team? I don't know. If they're going to be prolific enough there. I do love their defensive staff. Headlined by their defensive coordinator, Brian Ward. He is sharp. He is really good. I don't love their offensive coordinator, Marcus Arroyo. I have a personal history rooting for Marcus Arroyo offenses. Didn't go well. But that concern for me is lessened because Kenny Dillingham is there, and I think Dillingham is quite good, even though Arroyo is probably the play caller. I'm sure Dillingham will have plenty of input there. But I think Houston, to me, is a pretty clear-cut pick to finish last in the Big 12 this year. You look at what they were last year, not great, and then they got decimated in the transfer portal.
Yeah.
And they're working in a new head coach. Like it's a bury the tape sort of year. You know, you go to Matt Rule's first year at Baylor was what, 1-11?
Yes.
Right? Like what, 1-11? It's going to be that sort of year for Houston, Willie Fritz. And it's okay. It's okay. You know, work in a young quarterback, learn, who's good, who could, help your team next year. But understand that that's a multi-year rebuild because it's not just a rebuild in a power conference. It's a rebuild in a power conference as you are making the power conference transition from the G5. I think that's especially tough. So I expect Houston to be the last team in the Big 12 this year. You know who I'm most interested in? Not most, but very interested in, and no, I'm not going to say Colorado. What does TCU's bounce back season look like, or is it a bounce back season? I like their defensive coordinator hire in Andy Avalos. I think they'll have enough at quarterback. I know Sonny Dykes is a good offensive coach. They don't recruit horribly, and
no,
I'm like,
Portal was good. I don't love Kendall Briles. I also think that Josh Hoover, ooh, scary, Josh Hoover.
Yeah, and then that's. I'm nothing if not consistent, or at least I try to be. Yeah. If you don't have a great quarterback, I don't know if I like you, but I'm saying if in the Big 12 at least, because the league is so good. If you've got Hoover at quarterback, can he be okay enough to make you a 6-7 win team?
Yeah.
Can he?
So, right now, according to Brett Ciencia, again, Heisman voter, puts out the magazine every year, puts some effort into it. Number 6 in the Big 12, TCU. He's got him top 6.
I don't think that's a horrible pick. I would not select them as a dark horse to win the conference. I'll reserve that title for Texas Tech and UCF as dark horses that, flying under the radar, but could make a run if everything kind of breaks their way. But yeah, TCU, I find to be an interesting team just because they were playing Georgia. They beat Michigan in the college football playoff 2 years ago, and then last year they missed a bowl game, which is a pretty steep drop-off. Are they going to stay there? Because historically, TCU, pretty darn good program, whether in the Mountain West or the Big 12. They've been quite good. So I'm interested to see what TCU does, but I think BYU, I don't know about Baylor. Baylor's like the opposite of Iowa State. I don't think they're going to bottom out, but I don't think they're going to achieve great things. And Iowa State, I don't think they're going to win the Big 12, but I don't think they're going to bottom out either. Can
we play a game for a second?
Yes, we can always play a game.
When it comes to, so we're doing the teams that might stink, and most of these teams probably will. Baylor, who had the number 116 scoring defense in the country last year.
That's not great.
Returns 82% of its defense. So, you thought
that's how I feel about that's how I feel about Oklahoma State.
Well,
Oklahoma State, it's a super veteran team. But they weren't that good last year. They weren't bad.
Well,
they weren't great.
Go crazy over that. Baylor, the number 101 scoring offense in the country last year, returns 76% of its offense.
I do like their offensive coordinator hire. I think that can be much better.
Yeah, hated watching them play last year. Well, it's all the same guys. They're going to be on the football field again. Their football schedule. Let's do this. Talk about teams that could bottom out this year. Tarleton State, win. They'll give it to you.
I will call a Tarleton State football and several basketball games this year. Fun fact about me, if you did not know.
At Utah.
That's a loss.
Yeah. Air Force at home. Tell you.
That should be a win. It should be a win, but I watched them lose to Texas State last year, so I don't know.
31 to 12.
Okay, but here's the thing. Air Force is not going to be the same version of itself. They lost a lot from last year's team. They're going to be a middle of the road, maybe slightly upper tier Mountain West school instead of a candidate to win 10 games. So I think Baylor can be okay there and get through that non-conference slate 2-1.
At Colorado.
No, that's Colorado.
BYU at home. I mean, it's not a terribly brutal opening.
Very, very, very winnable. No, that's not a brutal open at all. It pales in comparison to what West Virginia is going to go through the first 2 months of the season. Mm-hmm. They're going to get bludgeoned. They're going to get bludgeoned like Glenn when Negan comes to town with the spiked baseball bat.
Yeah, good. I've been watching Game of Thrones recently, so we could have used a reference there. Good show.
Oh, almost, yeah. No, Walking Dead, very good. Game of Thrones superior, though.
At Iowa State, that's a loss. At Texas Tech, that's a loss. Oklahoma State, smell ya. TCU, at West Virginia, that's a loss.
Okay.
At Houston.
Okay, hold on. That 4-game stretch, are we completely convinced that Dave Aranda is going to go 0-4?
At Iowa State, yep. At Texas Tech, Oklahoma State, for sure. TCU, got a good chance they're going to lose that game, yeah. Then at
I'll give Dave Aranda benefit of the doubt. I think they will win one of those games. I don't really know which one. I'm just saying I think there will be a couple of go either way, bounce the ball games, and that they can emerge with one. If they go 2-2 in that stretch, they're doing great.
Yeah.
But I think they can win one and avoid a 4-game losing skid, because if they go on an 0-4 stretch, Dave Aranda is out the door.
Yeah. If they go 5-7, I think he's fired. And they'll probably go 5-7. Probably going 5-7. Okay, so bottom of the conference is Houston. Teams that are going to stink. You just got Houston down there hanging out with Houston.
What do you make of Cincinnati?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so. Well, explain. I don't think so.
I think we're gonna have to shake Scott Satterfield's hand and say thank you for your 2 years, but it's time, and that's okay.
Last year was a pretty uninspiring brand of football. Like, it's one thing to not be good. Like Colorado last year flashed in the pan, but then wasn't actually good. It was a facade because they, were playing in a better league, obviously. And then once they went through that better league schedule than what they had played, it didn't go spectacularly well. They got blown out a couple times. They also had some close losses, but it didn't go great. It was at least interesting. It was sloppy at times. It was penalty ridden, but it was interesting. You saw the promise, you saw the potential, you saw the improvement from the prior year, and you said, okay, there are pieces here. There are elements to this that are good. I mean, they lost a couple really close games, one of which they had a 26-0 lead at home against a 3-9 Stanford team. You play that game, over 10 times, Colorado probably wins at 9, and that was just the one. So I think for Cincinnati, what I'd be looking for this year for Scott Satterfield to keep his job, is there anything that gives you hope, optimism? Like, Colorado was exciting. They were explosive on offense. They have a great quarterback. But Cincinnati was just like,
yeah, no. Looking at
that's how I feel about Cincinnati. I was so uninspired by them last year. Call them Baylor North, if you would like.
Corey Kiner. That's the name where you're like, yeah, Corey Kiner. He's good. Running back. Outside of that, you're Spencer McLaughlin. Where can people find you if they want to hunt you down?
Well, people tend to do that anyway in the comment section. But if you'd like to do it even more personally, by all means, you may fire into my direct messages on X, formerly known as Twitter at @SMcLaughlinCFB. I host Locked On College Football and Locked On Ducks, YouTube, Monday through Friday, all year round, wherever you get your podcasts. However you're consuming the show, it's available, because it turns out, if you didn't know, we work for the same network. This one right here on my T-shirt.
He's also the voice of Southern Utah, who Indeed. I will see play a football game.
Hence the Tarleton State comment. You will see them play a football game. Where are you going to see Southern Utah?
Rice Eccles Stadium.
Wait, are you going to be at Rice Eccles?
100%, dude.
Oh, dude, I'll see you next Thursday.
Yeah, wouldn't miss it for the world. You're telling me this for the first time. I am hearing of this for the first time. Oh, that's great. Oh, this gone. God,
how did we do that twice in the same show? Same show.
Come back tomorrow for, I'm sure, something about expansion. This has been, it always will be, Locked On. Thanks for making it your first listen every single day. Dose Grande.